General Manager of Destination North Coast. I'd firstly like to thank you all for taking the time to join us on today's webinar. This is the fourth in a series of webinars that we've been running. The first one was all about unpacking the available funding. Second, about how to best secure some of that funding through grant writing. Third was around business resilience and planning. And this takes us neatly to today's webinar, the tourism tips for reopening the digital doors and making the most of opportunities that arise coming forward. So today's presentation includes some handy tips on how to navigate this tricky time on social media, coupled with a range of ideas on how to use this downtime to your ultimate digital advantage. There's quite a bit to get through and want to ensure that we can answer as many questions as possible. So we'll jump straight into it. A few housekeeping issues to start with. Everybody will be on mute and no videos today. That being just because we found people in poor internet areas, if we keep everybody off the cameras, then it does aid their audio. If you would like to submit a question, which we will cover at the end of Tori's presentation, please do so through the chat function. I will then collate the questions and then read them out towards the end. So without any further ado, I'd like to introduce today's presenter, Tori Johnson. So originally from Western Australia, Tori is a tourism professional now based in Adelaide. Tori is passionate about the Australian tourism industry and has experience across regional, national and private sector tourism, having managed public relations for Margaret River Tourism, social media for Tourism Australia, the world's most successful tourism social media platform, by the way, and more recently for Journey Beyond, which owns the Ghan and India Pacific train journeys, along with a range of marine, touring and accommodation products. An avid storyteller, Tori believes social media is the ultimate platform for tourism business to tell their story, and I agree. So over to you, Tori. Thank you.
Thanks, Michael, and thank you so much to everybody for joining today. I'm going to leave my video on just for now, and then I will switch it off soon enough so we can really focus on the slides. So I ran a similar webinar recently for the industry over on Lord Howe, and Jackie and Michael have invited me to present it all to you for Destination North Coast. So thanks so much for the opportunity. I've tailored this webinar to be kind of like a social media survival kit for the coronavirus situation. It has been a really strange few weeks for everybody, and we're living through a really unusual time. It sort of started with this fear and panic, and then now we've had this frustration and boredom that's come with lockdown. And now there's a really nice rising optimism as everything starts to slowly return to normal. So through all of this, people are spending an exceptional amount of time online. And this presents a huge opportunity for you to market your business through digital channels and social media. I'm going to give you some tips for your tourism business today, mainly around social media, but a little bit of website too, because now's the time to be working on our digital presence, but we want to ensure that we're doing it right. So we're going to cover off these topics in today's session that you can see on the slide here. A bit of general maintenance, sort of admin stuff that you probably never get time to do on your social media and website. Creating compelling COVID-friendly content, because the world's in a really sensitive state. So we just got some tips on what should and shouldn't we be posting on social media right now. Getting to know your fans. So that's really about reviewing your audience and understanding their behavior. Growing your following. So I've got a few tips on how you can literally grow your social media following just from sitting on the couch. And being ready when the doors do open again. So reviewing the ways that guests can share their content with you so that when the doors do open again, you're ready and you've got a solid stream of user-generated content that you can use. So I am going to switch my video off. And Michael, if I'm not clear or if it's not making sense, please just feel free to switch yours back on and interrupt me. But I'm going to switch my video off now so we can focus on the slides. Great, so Michael gave me a little bit of a wrap there, a bit of background, thank you so much. I'm from Western Australia originally. I was born in Perth, grew up, spent all my life in Perth, and I moved down to Margaret River and worked for 5 years down there for the local tourism association, doing public relations, social media and communications. I then had a fantastic opportunity to move to Sydney to work for Tourism Australia. And I then moved over to Adelaide, decided to have a bit of a sea change. And I worked for Journey Beyond, as Michael mentioned before, which owns the GAN and the Indian Pacific trains, and the Great Southern Train, which came through your region this summer just gone, and stopped in Coffs Harbour, and that was a really cool experience. So I finished up with Journey Beyond recently, and now I've got the opportunity to talk to all of you. So I'm going to kick off today's session with a bit of general maintenance about your Facebook and Instagram pages, which can really improve your page's overall appearance. Some businesses are starting to slowly reopen at the moment, but we're certainly not at full capacity just yet. So now's a really good time for a bit of a spring clean. We'll start with Facebook. On the screen there, I've listed a few of the things that you probably never have time to look at, but you can make sure that they're all up to date. With your Facebook menu, that's the first thing. There's a few things on your Facebook menu that you really need to make sure are up to date. These are your page name, your username, your about section, your opening hours need to be up to date, your contact details, and your menu. Now, you don't have to be a food or beverage business to have a menu on there. You can have a price list. So that's a really good place to put your price list under the menu section. Your Facebook cover image. You can find these specs online, but the optimum specs for this space are 820 by 360 pixels, if you want to jot that down. It's 820 by 360, but really it's just about making sure you choose a photo where the subject's in the center zone and that it displays clearly on both mobile and desktop. So make sure that you check it when you upload it. If it doesn't look right on mobile, change it up, use a different picture or readjust it. Rotate this space regularly. You can use it to promote seasonal activities and campaigns. It's really prime real estate. If you choose to use a video for your Facebook cover, it is the same dimensions as the cover image, and it'll be automatically resized to a 16:9 aspect ratio. Need to make sure any text or action is towards the middle of the video, and generally videos are about 20 to 90 seconds long. Basically, if you're getting video footage shot for your business, ask for a version that you can use for your Facebook cover, because any decent videographer will know what that means. Profile pic. Specs for this are 180 by 180 pixels. This stuff is all online. It's really easy. Just Google if you're not sure. 180 by 180 pixels is a really small space. Should be really easily recognizable at a glance. It needs to crop nicely to a circle, so don't try to fit a wide logo into a circle. Get a version that's stacked, that's made to fit. And if you do use a logo, make sure it's something simple, so not too decorative. And if you use a photo, make sure it's something distinctly recognizable as your product. The Our Story section is the last thing that you could update with your Facebook page. This is a place for storytelling. It's where you can host some longer form content about your business. So maybe a timeline or some history. It's kind of a space for an engaging narrative. It's really good for SEO. So use lots of keywords, and it can also be a good home for the terms and conditions for the use of your page. So that's things like content that you reserve the right to remove, use of offensive language, use of images that are posted to your wall, or using your hashtag. Alternatively, you can house this kind of information on a page somewhere on your website, and then you can link to it in the Our Story section. Make sure the header image for this section, Our Story, is also up to date. It does display differently on mobile compared to desktop, so make sure it displays properly on both. Got some really nice examples from your region of people doing this really well. Observatory Holiday Apartments in Coffs Harbour. They've used a logo as their profile pic. It's really nice and clean, and it embraces vacant space, which looks great. Pro Dive over at Lord Howe. They've used a really nice clear picture. It's clearly a boat tour company on Lord Howe, because you can see those iconic mountains in the background. So can't get that wrong. Barrington Coast, they've got a really great Our Story section. They've got some lovely long form copy in there. Jump in there when you get a second on their Facebook page and check it out. Some nice long form copy, and they also house their social media T's and C's, which I mentioned before. And the Dolphin Marine Conservation Park in Coffs Harbour. Great use of the Facebook cover image space to promote their weekly live streams, which is something they're running at the moment, a campaign that they're doing. So let's talk Instagram. There are 3 things you could be refreshing on your Instagram right now. One is your bio text. This is your elevator pitch. You've got 150 characters, not much. So use that space wisely. Outline your content sharing methods. So that's things like, what's your hashtag? We'll talk about hashtags later, but outline your hashtag or the use of tagged images in that space. And you can use emojis in that space too. but they do take up extra characters, so be aware. Your bio URL. This may seem really simple. You think you're probably just going to paste your homepage in there, but it doesn't actually have to be a link to your homepage necessarily. You can rotate the link in this space and you can direct people to different parts of your site when you've got special offers running or a blog page up and running, that sort of thing. A tip with the bio URL is that you can actually remove the HTTP part and the www. So it makes it shorter and more click friendly. And your profile pic is something that you definitely should make sure is up to date. Again, specs are the same as Facebook, 180 by 180 pixels. Keep it simple, easy to recognize. It's good to use the same image across your Instagram and your Facebook to keep it consistent. And stark contrast to the background looks really good as well. Embrace that vacant space. So here's some examples from your region. Barrington Coast doing this really well as well. The Instagram bio space, they've got their elevator pitch really clearly outlined there, and they've got their permission sharing methods made clear. So tag #Barrington Coast to be featured. Nightcap Ridge in the Byron hinterland. I really liked this one. Nice clear logo, nice use of vacant space. Kia Ora Lookout in Gloucester. I loved that one because it's clearly a pool with a view. It's an accommodation that's got a pool and an epic view. So those USBs are really obvious from that profile photo. And Somerset Apartments in Lord Howe, nice example of dropping the HTTP and the www and having a nice, clean, click-friendly link in their bio to their homepage. Cool, a couple of helpful tools. Some free programs online that I really like to use. One's for image resizing, because I know I was talking a lot about pixels just then, and then one's for link shortening. Canva is for image resizing. It's basically you create a custom template. This is a free program. Create a custom template like 180 by 180 pixels for your profile photo that I mentioned before, and then you place your image over the top and you'll see how it fits onto the template. And then you just download the new resized image. So try Canva for resizing images. It's awesome. And then Bitly, I spoke about maybe directing people to a specific page within your website from your Instagram bio, maybe a landing page to promote a special offer. So consider using a link shortener like Bitly instead of having a big long URL sitting in your bio. The advantages of having a shortened link are that you can track the clicks and that it looks cleaner. It's much more click friendly, and you can customize that link. It'll auto-generate a bunch of letters and numbers on Bitly as a link, but you can then customize that and put whatever text you like. So it's a nice, clean, click-friendly link. Great, moving on to website. A few things that you can check that are up to date in regards to your website. Compelling imagery. There is nothing worse than having blurry or low quality images on a website. Make sure your images are as high resolution and high quality as possible. The design should be sleek and simple. Embrace that empty space. Clear product offering needs to be on your homepage, ideally under 10 words. If you're a tour company that does Swim with the Dolphins, it needs to say Swim with the Dolphins on your homepage. A call to action button, so usually that's book now, but it doesn't have to be book now. It can be things like save your seat or reserve a spot or get amongst it or something like that. And try to avoid distractions and interferences on your website. And mobile compatibility. It's amazing how many websites out there are still not mobile friendly. So have you checked what your website looks like on mobile, and is it easy to use? A really nice example I came across when I was looking through your regional area is Elements of Byron, really beautiful website. This is what hits you when you open up their website. So it's a nice, clear, crisp, really beautiful drone image of the property. It's high res, it's got a call to action button in the corner that says book now. The menu is there, but it doesn't interfere or distract. And if you scroll down, there's a clear product offering. It says an award-winning beachfront resort. So that's a really nice website example. Okay, creating compelling content. So it's been a really weird couple of months. Travel restrictions, we've had border closures, people have cancelled holidays. Now people are wondering, can they even afford to have a holiday this year? But then people have got cabin fever and they're researching domestic destinations more than ever, and things are starting to reopen. So all of this has probably left us all wondering, oh my God, what on earth should I be sharing on social media right now? Should I be sharing content at all? Is now the right time? We've got travel restrictions still in place. What should or shouldn't I be posting about? So I want to preface this discussion, I guess, with the fact that I don't necessarily have all the answers to this. And the truth is there really are no right answers. But I've done a fair bit of research and I follow a lot of social accounts, and I can give you some sound advice based around what I've seen. So there are tourism brands out there who are doing it well, and there's brands that are not doing it so well. But most importantly, more than ever, people really need inspiration right now. They need that escapism and distraction and entertainment. It's really important to keep up the momentum. There's this concept that's sort of being thrown around called armchair travel. It's just a form of escapism. You've got a captive audience right now. It's critical to nurture the relationships you have with your social media community and to use this time to build new ones. Don't be caught napping. Everything's going to be back up and running soon, and you guys are all going to be flat out so busy. Now's the time to put the best version of your business out into the public eye. Stay fresh in people's minds so that when people can travel again, your destination and your product are front of mind. So you're possibly thinking, I don't have enough content. Where am I going to get content from? Especially because you probably don't have guests staying right now, or you've got less guests staying than usual. So there's probably no user-generated content coming through your channels. So a few tips on where to get content. So firstly, audit your existing content stores. You really should have a bank of content already saved down that you can access. So this is things like past photo shoots or content from influencers who have stayed with you or done your tours or visited your property. Sort through that content, work out what you've used and what you haven't used on social, and there's potentially some usable content there. Secondly, plan your content. How much content have you got on file? Work out how much you've got, how long it'll last. Thirdly, find some new sources. There's actually a lot more content out there that you may not realize that you can access. So let's talk about that. Sources of content. So your hashtag or tagged images on Instagram. If you rely on user-generated content, you should be checking your hashtag and tagged images regularly on Instagram. If not, this is a really good time to start. We'll talk a bit later about hashtags. They're a source of content that you should be actively encouraging your guests to contribute to. There's kind of an unspoken rule that if people use your hashtag, that you can share their content with credit to them. Your Facebook wall. This is a little bit old school. People generally don't post an awful lot on Facebook walls anymore, but it is generally a given that if someone posts their holiday snap on your Facebook wall, you can repost it with credit. Always make sure you credit if you're sharing people's photos on social media. It's really good practice. Past guests. Why not email your past guests and ask them to share their photos with you? Everyone's at home at the moment. They're online. They've got plenty of time on their hands. Send them an email. Get them to send you some content. Pics from influencers that you've hosted. If you've hosted influencers at your property or on your tour, hopefully you've already negotiated for them to share some images with you. If not, it's not too late. Hit them up. People are being really compassionate right now. So drop them a line, ask them if they don't mind sharing a Dropbox of images with you, and say that you're only going to be using them on your social media channels with credit to them. Alternatively, you can just bite the bullet and buy some images from the influencers that you've hosted. Your own pictures. So maybe it's a time to go through your phone or your camera and actually save down some content for posting that you've taken yourself. Or pics from your staff. Reach out to your staff, ask them to send through any photos that they might have taken. And lastly, take some new snaps yourself. So set up some shots. You've got access right now to all of the best rooms, the best tables, the best locations on tour at any time of day, including sunrise and sunset when the lighting's the nicest and when you maybe normally don't get access to these spots. You can also look at running some live streams, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. A couple of tips there for future. Make sure you're commissioning regular photo shoots. You should be getting at least one shoot a year done for your business to update your imagery. And then, sorry, I'm just checking the chat and just making sure it's not anything that's just because it's everyone, sorry. one photo shoot a year at least. Host influencers. So when DNSW or anybody, your local tourism organisation puts forward hosting of influencers to you, make sure you say yes. Host those influencers and content creators because they can be a source of content for you. And empower your staff. Make it part of their job to take photos. Okay, sorry, I'm just moving on to the next one. Okay, next slide. A lot of people aren't sure when to post on social media or how often to post. Here's the trick. It's really about knowing when your fans are online. So look at your audience activity. We'll dive into that shortly. See when they're most frequently online and catch them at these times. You can also observe the performance of your posts. So posts have a lifespan on social media where they're visible in your fans' news feeds for a sort of a finite period of time. This is all based on the algorithm, which we won't get into because even that stumps me sometimes. But really, lifespan of a post varies from the amount of engagement that the post gets. So that's sharing, comments, likes. The more engagement, the more Facebook and Instagram will show that post to people. You need to let the post thrive for its lifespan. You don't want to sort of interrupt it. If you watch that post performance, when the engagement and reach start to drop off, it's coming to the end of its lifespan and you might want to consider posting again. Thirdly, don't overcook Facebook. If you're going to remember one thing here, this is a bit of a weird thing to say, but Facebook posts can effectively cannibalize each other. So if you post a second one too soon, it can actually kill the reach of the first post. My general rule of thumb, and take this with a grain of salt because every page is different, but once per day maximum, because it actually won't necessarily achieve any greater results to post a second time in a day. If you really do need to post twice in a day, try spacing them out as far apart as you can. So post really early in the morning and then send your second message out later in the day or that evening. Maybe you're worried about posting the wrong thing, which is totally understandable because the world is extra sensitive right now with the COVID situation. I'm not going to put the spotlight on any brands that might be doing it wrong because everybody's trying to do their best in this situation. But from my research, I have noticed a few things that brands should definitely stay clear of. So firstly, negative or hostile messaging. Words like don't, can't, sorry, unwelcome, stay away. There's a hashtag stay the F home, which is doing the rounds, and that can be really offensive. So steer clear of that sort of stuff. You don't want to alienate people. They probably can't visit you right now anyway, so now's the time to nurture your relationship with people, not to estrange them. Sharing political or personal opinions via your business page. Use your personal page for this sort of stuff. So that's talking about coronavirus unnecessarily, sharing your opinions about Trump or anything like that. There's enough chatter going on about coronavirus in the world. Steer clear of putting your 2 cents worth out from your business page. Make sure you use your personal page for this. Your fans are following you because they love your content, they love your product and your destination. So give them what they want rather than cluttering their feeds with extraneous coronavirus stuff. Rubbing it in or being insensitive. This is an interesting one. It's really, I think, about try to remember tact and tone. Just think of that as a tip. I've been to quite a lot of your regions actually as part of Destination North Coast, and you guys are isolated in a place or lots of different places that are really beautiful, and they're a lot more beautiful than where a lot of people are stuck at the moment, trust me. So although it's really nice to share that with people, just try to be sensitive, try to think tact and tone when you're sharing things. So I've done up a couple of examples here using a photo from Lord Howe of what I think is sort of a tactful and not so tactful post. Same photo, 2 very different captions. You can have a read of them later because these slides are going to be shared around. But the one on the left just says, this morning's sunrise on our beautiful island. These stunning scenes will be here when things return to normal. We can't wait to see you again. That's a nice tactful caption. Perhaps not so tactful is sunrise this morning all to ourselves. Isolation is pretty sweet when you live in paradise, and then hashtag sorry not sorry or hashtag stay home. So that's a pretty extreme example, as I'm sure you can imagine, but hopefully that illustrates the point of tact and tone being really important. So we're going to talk about what is suitable content. So there's a whole lot of content gold here. We're going to whip through these different areas, starting with destination content. Nature is your secret weapon. You live in a beautiful part of the country. You've got the opportunity to transport people to the coast, to the mountains, to the forest, to the countryside. Focus on that natural beauty, the outdoors. Just remember that tact and tone. Avoid tunnel vision. It's really easy to get caught up in marketing your own product. Remember that people aren't taking a trip to your region for your product alone. They're coming for the whole destination. So they want to experience all of the beauty and the natural wonders that your region has to offer. What you are offering is a place to stay or a touch of luxury, maybe some nourishing, delicious food if you're a restaurant or cafe, pampering, your knowledge if you're a tour guide, retail therapy, general services, but your region is what they're visiting for. Your region is the hero. So showcase it and remember that destination content is king. A really nice example that I found here from the Southwest Rocks Fig Tree Aboriginal Corporation. They've posted some lovely destination content lately, but I particularly liked this carousel of photos of sunrise at Little Bay with a beautiful kangaroo watching the sunrise. So really great use of destination content there. Educate and entertain. People have got a lot of time on their hands right now, so give them fodder, give them things that they can read, things they can do at home. Add value. You guys are the local experts. So things like recipes, cooking demos, how to make signature cocktails or traditional dishes that you're famous for. Maybe how to identify certain birds or plants, info about walk trails in your region. Maybe how to say words in a local language. There's a really nice example, again, from Southwest Rocks Fig Tree Aboriginal Corporation. Auntie Cheryl, there's been a series that they've been doing where she's been teaching people how to say the words in Dunghutti language. I thought that was really, really cool. And they've also been posting a colouring in for kids to keep people entertained in lockdown, keep the kids entertained. So that's really nice. And on the right there from Round and Round Coffee Co in Port Macquarie, this is definitely more of an entertainment type example. They've been doing a trivia night series live on their Facebook page on Friday nights. Some of these posts have had over 600 comments. They've been reaching a huge amount of people and it's generating a lot of engagement. So really great example of using social media to entertain people right now. So weather is another great one. It brings the wow factor. People are fascinated by the weather. Post pictures of storms, rain, fog, sunrises, sunsets, rainbows, all of that sort of stuff, constellations and the moon and interesting cloud formations. There's a nice example on the right there from Cubba Cottage at Cabarita Beach. They posted this rainbow the other day and they posted it on the day that it happened. Timeliness is key here. When I was working at Tourism Australia, we used to get the 12 photos from the Australian Bureau of Meteorology each year, and we'd share them as an album on Facebook. And it was just photos of cool weather phenomena all around Australia. It was consistently one of the best performing posts each year. So people just love photos of the weather. And all of this the whole time is going to be reinforcing brand affinity. It's going to be bringing your brand front of mind so that people remember that, and that when they are ready to book, your brand is front of mind and you've been serving up beautiful content in their newsfeed. Wildlife for the win, that's what FTW means. So people love wildlife content, particularly at the moment because they really don't have a huge amount of opportunity to get outdoors and spot wildlife, and they're not really traveling. So I've grabbed this photo, this gorgeous koala photo from the Port Macquarie Koala Hospital from their Instagram page. But the thing is, you don't actually have to be a wildlife park to showcase your local wildlife. Ask yourself, do you have any resident wildlife at your property? Have you seen any wildlife when you're out and about walking? Do you have any past pictures of wildlife on your phone that you could share? You can make it interactive, do fun facts or quizzes about wildlife. Instagram's got a feature on their stories called Ask a Question that you can add to your story, or you can do a poll feature where people can vote on what they think the answer might be. Or if you're on Facebook, you can ask people to engage in the comments, maybe guess what type of animal it is, or only show a part of the animal and then see if people can guess, something like that. Sharing the love. Reposting other operators' content really, really helps to build community on social. I mentioned before that visitors aren't coming to your region just for your business alone, so why not give them more reasons to visit? You might pick up some fans from your fellow operators along the way and vice versa. There are two ways you can do this. You can share other people's posts directly using the share button on Facebook or using a Regram app on Instagram. Or the way I probably prefer to do things is to actually check in directly with the operator first and then feature the photo, the original photo, on your page and just credit that operator and link through to their page. I'm a fan of that latter technique rather than using these repost apps or the share button. Facebook definitely tends to reward people that post things natively rather than sharing. So, and same with Instagram with the Regram app thing. If you're worried about promoting the competition, I would consider focusing on content from businesses that complement you rather than compete with you. But I think it's important to ask yourself, does it even really matter at a time like this? It's really all about building community, and that includes your fellow businesses. Be human. Tell real life stories. Be genuine, honest, vulnerable. I loved this post. This was on Lord Howe Island Tourism's page. This was Les, who's their oldest resident on the island. He's 98 years old, sitting on his ride-on mower. And there's a really nice little story about Les there. So posts that generate meaningful interactions get far more organic reach than ones that don't. This goes for content anytime outside of COVID or within. I love that photo of Les. It's such a good one. Bring the lols, make people laugh. Focus on the funny or the quirky. People need a bit of light in their lives right now, so it's totally okay to provide a little bit of entertainment. Crack a joke, write a funny caption or set up a funny photo or video. There's a really nice example there from Tourism Queensland with a cassowary. Social distancing. And while we're talking about video, video is mega rewarded by the algorithms on both Facebook and Instagram. It doesn't have to be professional. This is the key with video. It can be taken on an iPhone. When I was working at Tourism Australia, the majority, if not all of our videos that we would refeature on the Australia account on Instagram were shots just taken on an iPhone, both photos and video. Instagram and Facebook stories are a really great way to showcase this more rough and ready kind of behind the scenes video content. They do disappear after 24 hours. So this allows you to share some really nice authentic video content, and then you can also keep a beautiful curated Instagram feed at the same time. Virtual experiences are one way to showcase a bit of video. So do maybe some walkthrough tours of your property with your iPhone, recreate the highlights from your day tours maybe, and live video gets extra traction. It actually gets around twice the engagement and earns 3 times the amount of views as regular video. So you might have seen a couple of weekends ago the Live from Australia series on Tourism Australia's Facebook page. That got some incredible interaction, and Elements of Byron featured with a sunrise yoga session, which was really great. Some tips for live video, which is really important. I haven't put these on here, but they might be something you might want to just, they're really just common sense. You can jot them down if you need to, but you need to make sure you've got good Wi-Fi, either good Wi-Fi or solid data coverage. You don't want it dropping out halfway through. Secondly, make sure that there won't be any surprises. So what I mean by this is, how can I put it? If someone is potentially going to walk past in the background of your shot and swear, or if you're down the beach and someone might be walk past and do a nudie run or be topless or something, these are the kind of surprises that you really need to make sure are not going to happen during your live. So make sure you section your area off or shoot it in a place where that's not going to happen. No surprises. Make sure you engage with the comments. There is no point running a live unless you've got someone monitoring the comments so that they can answer people's questions in real time. And on that note, shoot something that people can actually engage with. So maybe ask me anything, like an interview style live. That kind of content is really rewarded by Facebook. Some examples here in your region of operators that I thought were doing video really well. The Dolphin Marine Conservation Park in Coffs Harbour. They've been running a series of lives from the park, and they're getting really, really good views. As you can see, that one of Plugger, the green sea turtle, that actually got nearly 6,000 views, which is incredible. So that's awesome. Nightcap Ridge over here, I'm going to just play this video. They're in the Byron hinterland. They're doing some really nice vertical videos to showcase both the inside and the outside of their cottages. On the right there, you've got the horseback tour sort of walking along, and it's just a really nice way to showcase their property. So some really nice use of video. And this one over here, I want to show you, this is from Round and Round Coffee Co in Port Macquarie. It looks like it might have been shot professionally, but it's actually a really simple concept. And I loved this video. It's really effective. It's had nearly 4,000 views on their Facebook page. I'm actually going to play this whole thing. It only goes for about a minute, but I think it's definitely worth a watch. I loved that video. I think that was really well done. And that's had, yeah, 4,000 views, which I think is pretty awesome for not spending anything on it. So I'm just going to move slides across here. Okay, talking about blogging. So the time for blogging is now, because you've got time to create this kind of content and people have time to read it right now. So I've got a definition of what a blog is up there, but really the important part that I've underlined is that it's written in an informal or conversational style. Those are the key words here. You don't need to be a professional writer to be able to blog. Anyone can blog. It's great for SEO, so it comes up in search. It's perfect fodder to link to from your social media, and it drives traffic back to your website. So you might be wondering, what on earth would I blog about? And you've probably covered everything there is to know about your product on your own website, but I'm not just talking about writing about your product. It's about building the picture behind your brand, telling the story of who you are, where you live, why you love your local region. Think beyond your own product. What are you knowledgeable about? What do you love about your destination? That destination content is key here. So common blog formats. I'm going to whip through these, but these are generally the types of blog formats that you'll see, and they're all really easy to create. Listicle is the first one. So it's kind of, listicle is kind of a copywriting term, but it's basically a combination of a list and an article. It's a bit more than just a dot point list, but it's generally information in a list-like format. Tourism Australia loves this format. There's a really nice example here from their website that features your regions, 7 amazing drives on the Rainforest Way. But if you go to TA's website, it's everywhere. They'll have Australia's best day hikes or Australia's top snorkeling spots, most beautiful islands, all that sort of content. You can create this kind of content really easily. It can literally be almost just slightly embellished dot points. A few ideas that you could write about for your own region would be best spots to watch the sunset or the sunrise, delicious places to dine, secret picnic spots or incredible hiking trails. Maybe your top surf spots or swimming spots, that sort of content. This is all great content for your own website. Itinerary format is another popular format. It can include maps, and it's often laid out in a day-by-day or hour-by-hour type format. There's an example there from DNSW's site on the legendary Pacific Coast, which features your region, and a few ideas of how you could do this on your own website would be maybe to write how to spend 48 hours in your region. What would you recommend doing? Cycling your way around your region or eating your way around your region. Educational is another format. This is that kind of how-to content that you often see on blogs. It really adds value for the reader, providing tips or educating people on how to do something. So a few ideas might be recipes or how to cook or make something, maybe how to spot kangaroos on the beach, for example, or maybe what to pack for a trip to your region. So useful tips on things to pack. So hiking boots, or what kind of wet weather gear would you recommend? What kind of snorkeling gear or surfboards? What kind of camera gear or binoculars? That sort of stuff. And lastly, interview style. This is another way you can actually blog, and there's probably people right under your noses that you could actually be interviewing. So maybe a team member, a tour guide, or a chef that works for you. maybe a local with an interesting story, or a resident expert in a certain subject that relates to your business. So a few tips when you're doing interview style pieces: write down your questions in advance, record your conversation. You can just use the voice memo app on your phone. And then when you do go to write up the blog, paraphrase the person's responses, because people often tend to waffle on a little bit when you interview them. So just make sure that your responses are nice and succinct when you do put them together into a blog. Facebook link posts. So once you've written your blog posts, how do you share it? On Facebook, a link post is usually the best option for sharing a blog post because it has the most clickable area. So what you need to do is paste that link in, ensure there's a really strong header on your website article, because that's what Facebook will retrieve. And then for your caption, choose a line of text that makes people want to read more. Just a little snippet. Remember that when you paste that link into the compose box on Facebook, you can then delete the URL once it's retrieved the preview, and then you can write over the top of it with a caption. Then you don't have a big, long, ugly URL sitting there in your link post. So just remember, always delete that URL. Blogs on Instagram. The easiest way to share a blog post on Instagram, or to drive people to any page on your website, is to host the link in your bio. So that means replacing your normal website link with a new link. And then where possible, make sure that's a shortened link, maybe using Bitly, which I mentioned before. Then you can post a hero photo or video, or a carousel of photos that sort of sums up the article, and then use the caption to drive the traffic to the bio. So nice little caption, and then something like "see link in bio" to read the rest of the blog. If you've got 10,000 followers, you can add swipe up links to your Instagram stories, which is another nice way to drive people to your website, but not everybody's got 10,000 followers. That's a bit of a tall order. So don't despair if you don't have 10,000 followers, because there are lots of bigger accounts out there that do have more than 10,000 followers that can help to amplify your messaging. I've listed here the easiest ways to share your content with some of these major tourism organisations. Your LTO, your STO, Tourism Australia, they're always keen to receive content from operators for their websites and for their newsletters and product updates. Make sure you're sending them your story ideas, your new business updates. You can even send them whole completed blog articles or just dot points. I know Tourism Australia loves receiving that kind of content. It does the work for them, really, and then they can just credit you. You just give them permission to share it on their website and ask them to credit your business. If you are going to send completed blog posts, just give them permission to edit the content if they want to, because their style might be different to yours. There's an example on the right-hand side there that's actually off Tourism Australia's website. It's a piece that I wrote when I was working for Journey Beyond. So we had a magazine, an onboard magazine that went on the GAN and the Indian Pacific and the Great Southern trains. And I wrote that article for the magazine and then sent it over to Tourism Australia, and they decided to refeature it. And talking about being, or not being precious, I actually called this one "When the Wild Things Are," because it's about seasonal wildlife events, but TA didn't like that title, which is totally fine. That's their prerogative. They changed it to seasonal wildlife events, which worked better for them for SEO. So it's really about just not being precious and letting them edit your work if need be. Also remember, engage with Destination North Coast. They are great at telling you what opportunities are available to you, so make sure you're keeping in touch with them. One last tip on this section about amplifying your content. A really important thing that people always harp on about is updating your ATDW listing. This is super important, and you've probably heard it a zillion times, and it's probably on the bottom of your to-do list. Australian Tourism Data Warehouse, that's where all of the information pools to DNSW's site, TA's site. And I want you to go and do some homework after this session. So I want you to go to DNSW's site or Tourism Australia's site, or both, type in your region's name in the search box, and it'll bring up at least one article, if not many articles about your region. Click on one of those articles and scroll right down to the very bottom. There's a bunch of squares that will appear at the bottom of the page. They're usually under the title "Things to Do" or "Places to Stay," that sort of thing. If your business doesn't appear that's because your ATDW listing isn't there. So it's either not accurate, it's not up to date, or your listing's inactive completely. So this is free exposure. And if your square does not appear on that page, it's a massive missed opportunity. So a bit of homework for you all. All right, we're going to talk about how well do you know your fans. So this is audience insights. We'll start with Facebook. The insights section on the menu bar at the top is the crucial section where you can find your audience demographics. You need to know who you're talking to. I don't know if you've ever looked in here, but if you haven't, you need to make sure you've looked in here. Up the top, it's insights, and then down the left-hand side, it's a section called people. This will show you the gender breakdown of your audience's age by bracket, and the top countries and cities that your audience lives in. So you need to know how old are your audience. On this particular example, we've got majority 35 to 44, some in the 45 to 54 age bracket, and 64% females. Where are they from? What country? Are they local? What language are they speaking? Are they generally based in Sydney or Brisbane or Melbourne? Or we need to know where the fans are based so that you can talk to them. And while we're talking about your fans, you probably are going to find when you jump into this section, if you don't know already, that a lot of your fans are local. So if you think about in this COVID situation, who's going to return first when you reopen your doors, it's going to be those locals, the locals that love your product, that weekend drive market, that's sort of 2 to 3 hours distance. Make sure you're nurturing those fans, talk to them on social media. You can target them. You can actually restrict the audience to just that local area within a 3-hour drive, let's say. Maybe offer them a special deal if they're within a certain postcode. You can also use your database to reach out to those people. Insights on Facebook posts. This is really about finding out when your fans are online. So there's a tab that literally says when your fans are online. This will not only show the days that you have the most fans online, but the times that your fans are online. A really weird watch out here on Facebook is that all the insights activity on Facebook is reported in Pacific time zone, which is super annoying, but it is just a thing that Facebook does, and you need to make sure you calculate the actual time in your time zone so you've got that information and you're interpreting it correctly. You can use this information to identify the peak period, so when your fans are online. You can then also identify the quiet periods and make sure you're not posting during that time. You can schedule posts in advance on Facebook if you don't have a third-party software to do this. Facebook's got an awesome inbuilt publisher tool. So you can schedule stuff and it goes out like clockwork. It is really, really good. So I would recommend, don't just post during office hours. Make sure you're posting when your fans are online, even if that's 10 o'clock at night. Instagram insights. So as long as your profile is set to business on Instagram, you will receive these Instagram insights. They're in the top right-hand corner of your homepage. There's a little menu and then you go down to insights. In the audience tab, you can find out the location of where your fans are, so the country and the cities that they're living in, their age and their gender. You need to know who you're talking to, and a little tip here is that if you click on the bar graphs themselves or the pie graph, it'll actually reveal those percentages and figures. So that's really helpful. Audience, so your followers, right at the bottom of the Instagram Insights section, there's a section called followers. This will show your audience activity time. So you need to, again, like I said with Facebook, be posting when your fans are online. This will give you data, thankfully, based on whatever time zone your smartphone is set to. And a hot tip here is if you click on the bar graph, it'll actually reveal those figures. So there's a lot of social media scheduling tools out there. So with Facebook, you can use the inbuilt one, but for Instagram, you will need a scheduling tool because they don't have a native one. There's a lot, and they're really cheap. We don't really have time to get into them today. But what I'd recommend is if you don't have a third-party software, but you want to be posting late at night or on the weekend or something, just draft the post in advance, copy the caption into the notes section on your phone, save down that picture or video onto your camera roll, and then set an alarm. And then you can at least be capitalizing on those times when your audiences are active. Organic growth and engagement. So we're going to move on to talk a little bit about doing some extra maintenance to grow your follower base, because we've all got a bit of spare time on our hands at the moment. I will let you in on a secret. It's really easy to boost your following. All you need to do is put in a little bit of time engaging with people's posts and comments. And by engagement, I mean liking, commenting, replying to comments, and sharing. So the kind of content that you can engage with, if we start with Instagram, they're things like comments on your own posts. You should always be liking and engaging with those. Comments on posts that you're tagged or hashtagged in. So make sure you're checking those posts on Instagram and commenting and liking people's comments. Comments on general region hashtags, we'll talk about them in a second, and posts about your region on big tourism accounts like Tourism Australia and DNSW. Hashtags. Let's talk about those general region hashtags. So, for example, I looked up Kyogle. I hope I've said that right. They have got actually nearly 12,000 posts hashtagged with Kyogle or Kyogle Country or Kyogle NSW, which is really, really cool. This is all content that people in this Kyogle region and operators in the region could be engaging with. You could be liking, commenting, replying to people's comments on posts on hashtag Kyogle. These are people's holiday snaps, so it's a whole new audience that you could be tapping into. You could be liking comments, encouraging those people's friends and family to visit the region and experience your product. You can even go back through maybe even the last 3 months worth of content and engage with those posts. And then for future, if you follow these hashtags on Instagram, any new posts on, say, hashtag Kyogle will pop up in your feed, and that way you can be on the front foot and engaging with that content as soon as it happens. So obviously that's not just Kyogle. You can go and type in your region name and have a look at how many posts are hashtagged with your region. Major tourism accounts. These accounts have got huge followings. DNSW has got 1.7 million. Tourism Australia has got 12.8 million. This is a combo of their Insta and Facebook. And then don't forget about your local tourism organisation. You've got a huge chance to engage if your business gets featured on any of these pages, or even if your destination gets featured. You should be jumping in and responding. We've got a nice photo on Tourism Australia's account where Cabarita Beach was featured not that long ago, and then where the Crystal Shower Falls were featured on DNSW's site on their Instagram page. Even if you live within 50 kilometres or 100 kilometres of any of those destinations, you should be jumping in from your business account and responding to people's comments and saying, hey, guess what? Just up the road, you can come and visit our business or check this out. So it keeps your business front of mind for people. Following people on Instagram. If you spend a few minutes each day following new Instagram accounts, it will really help to grow your Instagram following. It's just called organic engagement tactics, basically. You need to be really careful not to follow too many people on one day. I think there's a limit of about 20 or 30 accounts you can follow before Instagram will actually block you because it thinks you're a bot. But it's really important, spend a few days, even if it's just a few minutes each night on the couch, following a bunch of new Instagram accounts. If you're not sure who you could be following, the kind of people you could follow are people who've used those regional hashtags, the people who follow your LTOs page, because they obviously already love your region, so you're halfway there with them. And then anybody who's ever liked a photo of your region that's been featured on the Visit New South Wales pages or Tourism Australia's pages. So spend 5 minutes each night on the couch following a bunch of new people on Instagram. Engaging on Facebook. You can engage with another business page from your own business page, and it's a really good practice. It helps to build your community on Facebook. A few tips to keep in mind when engaging with another business's Facebook page. Firstly, make sure you're engaging from the right page. So that means selecting the drop down and actually choosing your business page and not your personal profile when you're liking and commenting. Like other pages so that their content pops up in your feed. And you could be engaging with comments on your own posts and posts on your Facebook wall, other local businesses' posts, your LTO's posts, or similar to what I talked about with Instagram, posts about your region on TA or DNSW's pages. So if you haven't already followed those pages on Facebook and Instagram, make sure you're following them, checking them regularly. If a post about your region pops up, use that as an opportunity to get your business in front of all of those people that are commenting. All right, last section we're going to run through is a little bit about opening the doors to UGC, user-generated content. So I talked before about having a reliable source of content. Once the borders reopen and people start visiting, let's make sure that you're ready to encourage your guests to share their content with you. So I'll talk a bit about how you can access more content so you've always got this sort of steady stream of UGC that never runs dry. Hashtag. I hope you've all got a hashtag. If you don't, I would recommend creating one. A hashtag is basically used within a post on social media to help people to find a certain topic. It's like a filing system. Helps people to find something if they're interested in your topic when they search for a keyword or a particular hashtag. So hashtags are used for two reasons. Firstly, they increase the exposure of your post if you add certain hashtags to your post, and then they allow for content sharing. So we're going to focus on this today. Are your content sharing methods really simple and clear? What is your hashtag? If you don't have a hashtag, make a hashtag. Make sure it's unique. Make sure it's memorable. Make sure it's simple, not too long, not too complicated. When I say unique, make sure someone else in the world isn't using a hashtag. You might want to add NSW or something to the end of it to make sure that it's unique. Where is your hashtag displayed? If you're a restaurant, your hashtag should be on your table talkers and your menus. If you're an accommodation provider, you should have signs in your rooms and your lobby that have got your hashtag. It should be on all your collateral. If you're a tour operator, you need to have signs displayed in your vehicles or your boats. It should be on your bikes if you're a bike tour company, and again, on your collateral. People need to know how they can share their content with you. If you're a beauty or spa place, make sure that it's in your waiting room or the walls and the collateral. Make sure that you clarify all the different ways that guests can share their content. So not just hashtag, but also tag us, post on our Facebook wall, or maybe email us your photos, because not everybody is on Instagram, so they're not all going to be able to use a hashtag. And this is the last slide for today. I feel like this has been a whirlwind and I haven't even stopped talking, my goodness. So if you're still not seeing a whole lot of user-generated content coming through your channels, ask yourself this question. Are you or your staff actively encouraging your guests to share their content? So your hashtag, your Instagram account name, your Facebook page name, they should all be mentioned multiple times throughout the guest experience. So that means at the start when they arrive at your hotel or your restaurant or for the tour for the day, during the experience. So as part of the tour script, as part of the individual interactions. So, you know, if you've got guests and you're at a hotel, it's asking, how's your day? How's your stay going? Have you been taking lots of photos? Remember to use our hashtag. Make sure you're reminding people of what your hashtag is and how they can share their content with you. And at the very end of their stay or the end of the tour, make sure you remind them. You can also send follow-up EDMs, which I'm sure a lot of you already do. Once your guests have left, remind them to share their pics once they've gone home and refresh them with those content sharing methods. Incentives is another way to sort of get people to share their content. Some people run photo competitions, that sort of thing. It generally is better if it's a prize that people can access when they're still in your region, that they don't necessarily have to come back for, especially if they're international or if they're from interstate. Maybe a photo of the day competition is a nice way to do it. And that encourages people to share immediately. You choose the best photo from the day, and then you encourage people to pick up their prize the next morning, something like that. My last little tip for the day, I just talked about incentivizing people to share their content with you, but it's really, really important not to ever incentivize guests to leave online reviews. So that means TripAdvisor reviews or Facebook reviews, anything like that. It's actually illegal to do this, and that means offering them a discount, entering them into a raffle, offering them anything, a free beer or a free hot dog or anything. There was a case you may have seen a couple of years ago that hit the news about Meriton Service Departments. They got fined $3 million because they were tampering with email addresses that they were supplying to TripAdvisor to try to increase the relative number of positive reviews on their TripAdvisor account. This is exactly the same kind of thing. It does breach the ACCC's Competition and Consumer Act. So you can incentivize your customers to share their photos, but not to leave on online reviews. That is it for today. Thank you all so much. I'm going to put my video back on now. We should hopefully have time for a few questions. If I haven't run out of breath.
It's quite the whirlwind, but there's a lot to cover, and thank you. That was a great presentation and extremely timely. If there's ever been a time to have your digital and social presence up to date and maximised, it is now.
Absolutely.
Everybody's living virtually at the moment. All the recovery campaigns that you can leverage and hashtag and all the rest of it. If your digital presence isn't up to, and social presence isn't up to scratch, then you will be left behind and you won't be able to take advantage of these opportunities. So appreciate everyone that's we kind of reached the hour mark now, but we'll stick on for a couple of minutes for a couple of questions. Just a reminder, you can send a question through the chat function, and if you don't want to send it to everyone, you can just select to choose it to me and I can read it out if you want to be anonymous. Sarah sent a question, but I think she's since left, and you partially answered this one around using programming. Where was it? Do you recommend programming social media in advance using tools such as Hootsuite to free up operators' time, or try and be more spontaneous with content? I guess that one's kind of, is it science over spontaneity there? Do you find one works better than the other?
Look, I think scheduling tools are life. I think they're the best thing ever. I couldn't do social media without them. There's a lot of really cheap ones out there. I did say before with Facebook, you don't need one at all because there's a really great inbuilt publishing tool. And I think it's the ultimate. I think it works as well, if not better than most of the scheduling tools with Facebook. With Instagram, look, there is one that I tend to recommend to operators because it's cheap. It's called Later, so later.com. And it's got an app, and it's also got a desktop function, and it's got a really nice drag and drop function where you can lay out all your content, and it will just post like clockwork. And I think that's just, I don't see why on earth people wouldn't use that, because it allows you to map out your content. But you do need to still be timely. So it might be a matter of mapping out your content, but then if something timely pops up, make sure you sub it in and bump that piece of content that might be due to go out tomorrow. Or if you're out on tour and a whale jumps out of the water and it was, sunset in the background and it was, oh my God moment, get that on social as soon as possible. Don't save it just because you've got a week's worth of content planned. So I hope that answers that question.
It did. Just have one come through privately to me. Is it okay to share an operator's TripAdvisor comment on association's Facebook page?
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's a great idea as well. It's I think showing reviews from people. It's if you just take a screen grab of their TripAdvisor comment, it actually shows it within the context of TripAdvisor. I think that's a really great way to do it. You can put it into a little meme sort of style thing, otherwise like a little graphic. That's a nice way to do it. I mentioned Canva before is a free program, not just for image resizing, but it's got lots of really nice templates for social media, and they're all free. So you could grab those words off TripAdvisor, put them onto a really nice little graphic template where the templates are all there and they look gorgeous. And then you just download that and post it as an image. So absolutely.
Okay. I've got one actually from my time I worked at Destination Gold Coast before this. We're doing some great things in the social media world, and something that I found very interesting that I was part of that team. I remember they got into the habit of posting this beautiful kind of beach photo on a Sunday afternoon as a bit of a weekend wrap up kind of feel, but it just depressed people, and the commentary around it reflected that. So they replaced that with cuddly furry images from the likes of Currumbin or other places. And that resonated really well. And they just ensured they moved those beautiful beach shots to Saturday morning when the weekend was in front of people. Is there any other kind of timing quirks or examples you have that you can share with people?
That's actually really interesting feedback. Now that's, I think that's a really great example, and it is important to be timely where possible. So if something, I generally wouldn't post photos of wine or people drinking wine or, anything to do with alcohol before midday. I just find that kind of, people just find that a bit inappropriate at times. And so save your booze shots for after lunch. And then Friday afternoons are a great time to post those sort of weekend feels type posts, whether that's if you're a restaurant and if you want to sort of set up a cocktail with a nice view, and that Friday afternoons is when people are ready for that kind of content. And then look, Sunday nights is a nice kind of it's generally a time to reflect, I think, and it's also a time where I find most brands that I've worked with, their fans are actually most active on a Sunday night. So Sunday nights just seem to be a time where people are sitting on the couch. So yeah, but otherwise, again, sunrises in the morning, sunsets in the evening. Try to keep things in real time for your majority followers where possible.
Okay, excellent. And just one other private question I received was, do you have any tips on dealing with negative comments or posts?
Oh, look, that's a bit of a how long's a piece of string kind of thing. I mean, I think you need to have a bit of a community management structure where you've got some frequently asked questions. So pull together the kinds of questions that you think might come up and spend some time developing the standardized response framework for those questions, especially if you've got someone else handling your social media, so that there's sort of a go-to set of responses, and then maybe a bit of a triage process where if a comment is particularly difficult, that there might be a different person within the business who that person can approach to get some feedback on how to answer it. Yeah, which is often the case when you've got someone potentially younger handling your social media who may not have the insight on how to deal with a difficult customer, and they can do all the engagement, the fun stuff where they can like comments and write nice positive things. But if they get a tricky one, it is in a public forum, and it's really important on how to respond. So as for the ins and outs on how to respond, it really depends on what the comment is. So yeah, but have that response framework on hand.
Some very good advice there. No other comments have come through, and as we have gone to 3:37, I think I'll wrap it up there. Just want to thank Tori again for her presentation and her time today. Some fantastic information there, really easy to apply to your own business. I do implore you to kind of take the time after this to do the activities that Tori mentioned, such as the ATDW check with the Destination New South Wales and the Tourism Australia. A great litmus test to see if your listing is working. We will share the presentation and slides in an email to everybody who registered for the webinar following this event, and just like to thank you all again today for your time and for your continued support.
Thank you all, and thank you so much, Michael, and to Jackie, who is on a break at the moment, but yeah, for inviting me to come and present. It was a great opportunity, and yeah, hopefully we'll get to come and visit your region again sometime in the near future.
We're all hoping that. So thanks again, and cheers everybody. See you later.
Take care everyone. Thank you.